It was a Saturday afternoon in Riverton, a quiet, suburban town. Nothing much ever happened here. The kind of place where the most exciting thing was a church bake sale or maybe a neighbor's yard getting mowed on a Sunday. You know, the usual stuff. But that Saturday was different. For me, Jalen Carter, it was supposed to be just another trip to buy a gift. I had spent months working hard, saving up every tip, every penny from my part-time job at the local coffee shop, just to buy something nice for my little sister. Her birthday was coming up, and I had my eye on a beautiful silver charm bracelet from Belmont Jewelers, the best jewelry store in town. I'd passed by that place dozens of times, dreaming of being able to buy something from there for her. But little did I know, I was about to walk into a storm. I remember the air being warm, that golden, late afternoon light making everything look calm and peaceful. The kind of day that made you think nothing could go wrong. I had my money in my pocket, ready to make the purchase. I walked up to the store, adjusting my hoodie as I approached the door. Even though the hoodie was unzipped, showing my pressed polo shirt underneath, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being judged by the way I looked. A young black man in a hoodie, walking into a high-end jewelry store. I pushed the thought aside. Today was supposed to be simple. Buy the bracelet, surprise my sister, and leave. No drama. I pushed the door open, and the chime of the bell signaled my entrance. Inside, everything was just as I expected: sleek glass display cases, velvet-lined shelves, rows of gold, and silver gleaming under bright lights. The air smelled faintly of expensive cologne mixed with polished wood. The only customers in the store were older women, mostly dressed in designer outfits, admiring diamond rings and necklaces that probably cost more than I'd ever make in my entire life. I tried not to notice the curious glances they gave me as I walked past them, keeping my focus on the bracelet. It was perfect, exactly what I imagined. I was determined to buy it. Then I saw her, Margaret Whitmore, the clerk behind the counter. Middle-aged, blonde hair, sharp eyes, and a neutral expression. Or at least, that's how she started. But the moment her eyes landed on me, something in her posture changed. She went from neutral to scrutinizing. I could feel it. That shift, that look, the one I had become so familiar with. The one that made me feel like I didn't belong. I tried to shake it off, but it was there. She folded her arms, looking at me like I was a problem to be dealt with. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice slightly condescending. "I'd like to see that bracelet, please," I said, pointing at the display case. My voice was steady, calm. My mom had always told me to speak that way in situations like this. But Margaret didn't move. "Are you sure?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "That one's quite expensive." I felt my stomach tighten. I tried not to let it show, but it hit me. Why was she questioning me like this? Why did it feel like she thought I couldn't afford it? I pulled out my wallet, showing her the cash I had worked hard to save. "I'm sure," I said, forcing the words out as calmly as I could. She looked at the cash, her lips curling slightly. And then, she asked the question that made my blood run cold. "Where exactly did you get all that money?" Her tone wasn't casual anymore. It was sharp, accusatory. I tried to stay calm, but my hands clenched into fists at my sides. "I work at Parker's Coffee House," I explained, my voice growing firmer. "I saved up for this." She scoffed. "Saved up for this?" She shook her head, clearly not believing me. "And you expect me to believe that?" I felt a wave of anger rise in my chest, but I forced myself to keep it together. "Yes," I said flatly, trying not to let her get to me. Margaret let out a dry chuckle, clearly amused by my answer. She didn't seem to believe a word I said. "I've been working here a long time, kid," she said, finally walking toward the case. "I know when something doesn't add up." I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. I had done nothing wrong. She finally pulled out the bracelet and set it on the counter. "Be careful with it," she warned, her tone sharp, as if she was speaking to someone who didn't know the value of something so precious. I reached out to take the bracelet, and as I turned it in my fingers, it slipped from my hand. The soft clink of it hitting the glass counter was the most innocent sound. But Margaret didn't see it that way. "Oh my God," she screamed, her voice loud and shrill, piercing the still air. "I knew it. I knew you were trying to steal it." My heart sank. "No, I didn't," I started, but she was already reaching for the phone on the counter. "Get the police here now," she barked into the receiver, her voice dripping with venom. "We've got a thief. Young black male, podiatrying to steal from us." I froze. My mind was racing, but I knew exactly what was going to happen next. I had seen it too many times before, in the news, in the stories shared by others. I was going to be the next headline. The sirens, distant at first, started to grow louder. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. The room was silent, but the tension was thick. I looked around, and I could feel the eyes of the other customers on me. They weren't even looking at Margaret. They were looking at me. And then, the doors swung open. 2 police officers walked in, their eyes scanning the room, landing on me instantly. Margaret pointed at me. "That's him," she shouted, like I was some criminal. "He tried to steal from me." One officer, Sergeant Blake, took a step forward. He was tall, burly, his hand already reaching for his cuffs. "Sir, I need you to put your hands where I can see them," he said, his voice stern. I froze. I didn't do anything, but I knew better than to argue. I knew better than to move too fast. So, I kept my hands by my sides, trying to stay calm. "Please," I said, trying to hold my voice steady. "I didn't do anything." Margaret scoffed from behind me. "Oh, please," she sneered. "You thought you could get away with it, didn't you?" The second officer, Doyle, seemed unsure. He was younger, his eyes flicking between me and Margaret. He wasn't fully convinced, but Sergeant Blake was already moving in on me. "Hands where I can see them," Blake said again, this time more forcefully. I wasn't afraid, at least, not in the way they thought. I wasn't going to fight back, but I also wasn't going to let her get away with this. "Call my mother," I said, voice calm, though my chest was tight. Blake scoffed. "Call your mother? You can make your phone call at the station." "No," I said firmly. "Call my mother now." Margaret rolled her eyes. "Oh, sure. Let him call Mommy," she said, sarcasm dripping from every word. "What's she gonna do? Tell you to scream for justice?" I ignored her. I pulled my phone from my pocket and dialed my mom. "Mom, I need you at Belmont Jewelers." "Now," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, but I could feel the weight of everything pressing down on me. A few minutes later, the door opened again. I looked up, and there she was. My mom, Simone Carter. Tall, commanding, walking in like she owned the room. "I'm Dr. Simone Carter," she announced, flashing her badge. "Chief of Police for Riverton. This is my son." The room went completely silent. The officers' faces froze. Margaret's expression shifted from smug confidence to panic. She couldn't hide the shock. Simone turned her gaze to Blake. "Sergeant, I assume you have a reasonable explanation for why my son is being detained without any evidence." Blake stammered, clearly caught off guard. We received a call about an attempted theft." "Attempted theft?" Simone's voice was cold, but there was power in it. "You didn't check the footage? You didn't question him before you went for the cuffs? You just assumed." The room was thick with tension, the weight of what was happening settling on everyone in the store. "Check the footage," Simone ordered, her voice unwavering. Blake hesitated, but then nodded, signaling for the security footage to be pulled up. It played on the small screen, showing the exact sequence of events. No theft, no crime, just a 17-year-old boy trying to buy a gift for his sister. The room was silent as the footage ended. Simone turned to Margaret. "You'll answer for this." Margaret's bravado had completely disappeared. She had no defense, no way to justify what she had done. Simone looked at me, her gaze softening. "Let's go, baby." I followed her out of the store, but as we reached the door, Margaret stepped outside. She hesitated, looking at us. Then she opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came out. I looked at her, the weight of everything still sitting heavy on my chest. "I just wanted to buy a bracelet," I said, my voice firm but tired. "But I guess I got something more valuable instead." We walked to the car, and my mom stayed silent beside me. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel like I had won. But at least, for once, someone had listened. Maybe that was enough for today. So what do you think? Was this the right call? Do you believe justice was served? Or was this another case of a system that's quick to judge based on the color of your skin? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it.